Hey, welcome in to, I guess, the first edition of the Rice Football Blue and Gray preview show for quite some time. We missed you over the bye week, and then we had travel and some things going on last week, the weekday Thursday night game. So I guess we were chatting off air before this. It's been 3 weeks since we've gotten together to talk in front of other people. JP, did you miss me?
I really did. I was saying we see each other once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week. But I was like, hey, in this setting, it feels like it's been a while. And not that you asked or anyone else cares, but I had to help the mother-in-law move. I got to help the mother-in-law move. And East Texas
Good, I was going
real
to
estate.
send that recording.
Yeah, East Texas real estate, the way that it is, knock on wood, it's almost closed. So mother-in-law has moved out of the quarters, and the son-in-law helped her out with that. But thanks for adjusting, and we're sorry that if you're out there and you missed us, we apologize. But we got a good guest. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm excited. I guess, real quick, brief moments. Could you have asked for a better Thursday night? I know you didn't get to watch any playoff baseball. You were otherwise obliged to do the day job. But when you did get to do the day job, what did you kind of think?
Hey, it worked out in the end on both ways, right? It was as thorough a polite dismantling as I've ever seen in Rice football, and because I don't want to say it was a rout, because you hear 42-10, you think it was a rout, but it was not a rout. They just made that statement with the 3 turnovers in the first quarter and really didn't look back. And newsflash, JT Daniels is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He's not probably going to get Heisman love, unfortunately, but he is the dude of dudes at this group of 5 level, and it's going to be a great quarterback matchup coming up here this weekend.
Yeah, this will be fun. And I guess we have a guest joining us. Welcome, Corey Glore, voice, easy for me to say, voice of the Green Wave, here to talk Tulane. We'll start you off with an easy one. Who's the better quarterback, JT Daniels or Michael Pratt?
Wow.
I kid, but that should be a highlight matchup this weekend. Am I right?
You're coming off a 3-week hiatus and you start off with that question. I mean, listen, the numbers and the durability, I don't think are lying right now with JT Daniels and what he has done and just injected that offense with just a huge amount of life. What Michael Pratt's able to do for this offense is irreplaceable, and we've seen him kind of use all the tools in his belt to win games this year when he's been able to stay on the field. I think pure passing wise, Rice has the edge. I think the playmaking ability of Michael Pratt, he can do probably a couple more things. He can move around, he can run, as we saw against North Texas. And so I think there's slightly different skill sets in quarterbacks, but I certainly think he got 1 and 2 in the league matching up this weekend.
Hey, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for doing this.
It's been a while, JP. How long has it been? Welcome to the American.
Yeah, I mean, we text all the time, and It's good seeing your nice, sweet, smiling, Taco Bell loving face there. Mexican pizza to die for.
Yes.
I will.
Have that? Is that a thing anymore?
Yeah. Oh,
it's a thing, Matthew.
They got rid of it for a while.
This guy.
Oh, it's back. I'll bring you one when I come in on Friday.
Yeah, it's our thing. We love Taco Bell. As if the great conglomerate needs any more pub. So Matthew rightly started out with Pratt because he gets a lot of the focus, but you guys have done so much more with him missing the time. Obviously, the East Texas kid Horton did a nice job filling in, but I mean, I've seen Hughes. We kind of start off on other teams' offenses. So tell us about the rest of the offense while Pratt gets the rightful headlines. Rice coach is very complimentary during the week. There aren't any weaknesses on any side of the ball, much less on offense. So speak to the rest of the offense, good man.
Yeah, JP, I mean, this offense has really turned well-rounded in the last couple of weeks, and it does align with, I mean, you mentioned Kai Horton, the East Texas kid who has been thrown into some crazy spots as a quarterback and a backup here at this program, and so he had to start against Ole Miss week 2 in a ranked game and then go on the road and start at Southern Miss, and the offense was a little bit more stagnant with him. He can move the ball downfield, but he just doesn't have the multifaceted weapons that Michael Pratt does. And so when he returned in week 4, that started to open things up in the running game a little bit as well. Tulane had really a 5-man competition heading into the year for the lead running back with Tajay Spears now at the Titans. And so there really wasn't an answer until probably week 5 or so when conference play started. And that's when Mekhi Hughes really started stepping forward. He's just a stocky kid who has a good burst of speed once he gets open field. And he's not a go down on first contact guy. Like, even if he gets hit at the line of scrimmage, he's still falling forward for 3 yards, for getting 4 yards. He averages over 6 yards a carry right now. And so what he has done, he was probably 4th in line heading into the year of the depth chart. He tore his meniscus in fall camp last year, missed the entire Cotton Bowl season. And so he's become a little bit of a surprise here of him being the lead guy, but he has 3 straight 100-yard rushing games. And there's a refusal for him to just immediately fall down to the ground. And so he, developing into the back that he's become, has kept play action a big element of this offense. And that has allowed the wide receiver running game. This team will do fly sweeps quite a bit. And last game against UNT, it opened up the tight end game, and we started throwing to our tight ends a little bit more. And so there are so many prongs to this offense, and it's really started with Pratt coming back from his injury and then Mekhi Hughes developing into the guy that he's been.
Yeah, it almost seemed kind of like it's getting to the, we always, as watching these teams, we look at the depth chart and we look and we're like, okay, yeah, they're going to be good. But sometimes you kind of forget that there is a learning and a growing process that kind of goes along. As the Tulane of, where are we? Are we week 9? Where are we in this college
week
football
9,
season?
Yeah.
Yeah, week 9 is the Tulane of week 9. It's kind of starting to look like last year's Cotton Bowl season was incredible. And, took the loss to Ole Miss and kind of worked through some backup quarterback things. Does it kind of feel like you said with that, you got a running back, got some playmakers, that the week 9 version of Tulane that Rice sees really might be, as cliche as it sounds, like the best that they've been yet this season? You see that progression?
I think folks around here would say no, not quite yet, because I don't think what's been noticeable for me is that, the last couple of weeks, Tulane has had these lulls, about 10-minute lulls in these games in which Memphis put up 21 straight on them a few weeks ago. And then North Texas climbed out of a 21-point hole in the second half and just ripped off a run. And suddenly this game was tied. And so there was, frankly, a lot of annoyance about how this team played in spite of the win. And so I think they still feel as though they haven't quite fit all the pieces together yet. For about 45, 50 minutes, it certainly looks as though they have, but they've had kind of these down stretches here the last couple of weeks. Even UAB had a couple of those in week 1 of the conference season. So I think right now they feel as though the offense is a pretty well-oiled machine. It's probably the best it's looked so far this year. Last week against the Mean Green since week 1, when this offense was just blowing the doors off of South Alabama. And so it can go in so many different ways. It felt like that finally on Saturday, but there were some defensive lapses, and North Texas's offense is not the type of team you want to do that against. And now they're going to see another one in which you can't have these types of breakdowns that we saw from this Tulane secondary. So I think they still feel as though they haven't quite achieved the quality of play they know they're capable of, but you'd rather have those discussions sitting where they are now as opposed to 1-6. And so they know that they've had to win games a lot of different ways, and they've had to kind of, they've been shoved against the wall a couple of times here in conference play, and they've had to fight their way back out of it. And they've been able to do it. And so they know they're good enough to do that, but they also know they can't keep falling into these ruts of, just having these little bit of lapses here on the defensive side of the ball and allowing good offenses like what they're about to see really storm the gate on them.
Yeah, speaking of, you mentioned that secondary, and you get to meet Bordy here. Are we seeing Bordy here, Matthew?
Wow.
Usual check. So on the defensive side, you mentioned that secondary, while it's had its issues and obviously a big key against Rice, one of the best passing offenses in the nation, but y'all's run defense, top 10, 6, I guess, in the nation. And you stop the run, you can do a lot of great things in this game, as you well know. So speak to the defense and what have been some trends. You touched on it there with the secondary last week against we don't have North Texas on the schedule this year, but Rogers, man, he can hum it. So speak to y'all's D there.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with stopping the run, and they've held all but one opponent to under 100 yards rushing this season. And UAB did a lot of tricky things on this defense, and so they were able to crack 100. But that's the only one, and really, it's the only one that's gotten close to cracking the century mark running the ball. And that's the front four. Like this is probably the deepest group on this team, the defensive line. You had 9 guys coming into the year that had all previously started at some point on the defensive line, whether it was here or elsewhere. And so it was, the biggest change of how this team plays from last year to this year is that the defense has kind of flipped a little bit, where last year it was zone coverage, keep everything in front of you, don't let big plays get behind you. This year it's turn the front four loose and stop big plays before they start. And so these front four have rotated regularly. They were a little thin last week. They had a couple of injuries, but they're getting closer to full strength heading into this game. And so they've been able to shut down every running game, and that's allowed them to tee off on passing games, to tee off on quarterbacks. They have had success on guys who like to stay in the pocket so far this year, and they will be seeing one this weekend, but they'll be seeing a deadly accurate one who gets the ball out quick. So I think they feel confident about making this kind of a one-sided attack for the Rice offense, because they've done that to so many teams already this year. But the one side that Rice will be leaning on is the one that they're the best at. And so how the secondary handles that. And last week, Jarius Monroe is the best cover corner on this team. He missed most of the game with an injury. He's been practicing full go this week, so they're expecting him back. Lance Robinson has the interception numbers because he's kind of been tested a lot more, but he has come up with that. And more often than not, he's tied for the nation high in picks. But those two cornerbacks kind of solidify the secondary. And when Monroe went out last week, North Texas actually took a little bit longer to realize he was out. And once they finally did, they really started picking on that side of the field, and that's what led the comeback. And so if Tulane has those two corners back and healthy, then they're where they want to be secondary-wise. But they'll let some things happen in the passing game, but they're going to rely on the front four to kind of set the tempo for all elements of what happens defensively here. Patrick Jenkins has been a monster at the D tackle spot. Devin Deal, Darius Hodges, those two have rotated at the dog rush position, and they have kind of each alternated incredible games so far this year. And so that's allowed the back seven to kind of get their feet a little bit more solidified. It starts up front with this team, and it's been awesome.
Man, I'm watching and listening, go through name after name, and it's kind of interesting today in the transfer portal era. I know that Tulane was able to bring a good amount of key guys back, but at some point you plug and play and you just kind of like cross your fingers, right? Like to some point you're like, okay, we got some new guys. You might have done it somewhere else. Maybe you haven't done it here, or maybe you were watching last year here and getting on the field. To see Tulane kind of make the strides that they have and keep maybe not as dominant a defense, but opportunistic. I think that would be fair to say. How crucial do you think that side of the ball, the ability to get those interceptions, the fumbles, and take it away, has been as the offense kind of works through things?
It's been huge. I mean, it kept him in the Ole Miss game. I mean, that was a 4-point game with 4 minutes left, and that was with your backup quarterback going. And it held Southern Miss in week 3 to just nothing to speak of. Now, Southern Miss hasn't been the team I think we thought they might be since we've seen them. But this defense, when they've needed to come up with stops as well, they've been able to. Like they had to stop North Texas with 2.5 to go last week when they hadn't stopped them all second half, and they did. They had to stop Memphis after they went on their charge a few weeks ago after they jumped out to an 11-point second half lead, and they did. Getting the opportunistic turnovers, that was not part of Tulane's game last year. They were not turnover heavy. They were not sack heavy. Now those two numbers are near the tops of the league because it's Sheil Wood, a new defensive coordinator, comes over from Troy, and his mantra is aggression and pressure and really cause your opposing quarterback a lot of panic, because good things will happen for you if that's the case. And that's been, by and large, what's happened so far this year for the Tulane defense. It's a stark contrast from how they played last year, but it has worked, by and large, for most of the season, especially in the running game. But then when they're able to close up a pocket quick, they're able to force bad decisions and take advantage of them. And so it's been a little bit of a different style, but the results have been the same.
Again, here with the great Corey Glore, voice of the Tulane Green Wave. How about the magic of Coach Fritz? I sat down in one of these types of said, Matthew and I both did. Let's not exclude young Matthew, the dapper guy over there. We sat down and talked to him, and it was just a ball session. And during the week, Coach Bloomgren really, he gave him so many great flowers, as the kiddos say, but and spoke to his special teams abilities at his presser yesterday. So have you seen Coach Fritz handle not just the psychology and adjusting to this year's team, but just what kind of imprint that he has on this roster and just the obviously mentality leading this staff and these men?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, just how a coach develops a program is not necessarily how they play, but how everyone kind of binds together and interacts with each other, and what Coach Fritz has managed to build here is a huge challenge. There's no way around it. And you think about, I got here 2 years ago. I'm in my third season, and that was a 2-10 football season when the first month of the year they were living in Birmingham because of a hurricane. And this program could have completely disintegrated off of that. And instead, what happened is because of the relationships that Willie Fritz has managed to put together here, the types of team he recruits here, he brings a lot of guys back home to New Orleans. Matthew, you alluded to kind of the transfer approach here. A lot of them are New Orleans kids that started elsewhere and bringing them back home to play here. It's been a huge element of what he's done. And so he's brought in a lot of guys that, this is a New Orleans school, even though it doesn't maybe quite fit what many people think of the city, but he has brought back so many kids who grew up here and played football here that it has kind of entrenched the New Orleans chip on the shoulder for this program, but also how you go about day-to-day life in this city. It's a unique place. And so when 2-10 happened, all the members of that team, they could have fled, but they didn't because they understood what was being built here, that they were so much better than that, and that they wanted to see this through. That wasn't going to be their lasting mark. And so they go out and they go to the Cotton Bowl and they win that. And the reversal has been like this. And now it's to the point where everyone's coming here expecting New Year Six year after year. And next year it's a 12-team playoff. And now that's the barometer that's been set here in a very quick fashion. That's with Willie Fritz holding this together after what was a disaster of a 2021. It speaks to him as a coach, but as a person, that he was able to kind of keep this all intact to allow the success that we're seeing now.
That's kind of remarkable, and it's especially when you from a 2-win season to a Cotton Bowl, and now that's the norm. This is the college football world that we live in today. I couldn't help but chuckle, because we've heard it too, even with the Rice has not had the success that Tulane has had to this point, but getting upset at wins. I'm like, man, to have the luxury, it's kind of just throws you for a loop sometimes when you're watching it, huh?
Well, and I've talked with Coach Fritz this week already. He knows the very strong similarities between these two programs and these two schools, and now in the same conference again. And so I think for folks around Rice who are seeing, what Coach Bloomgren's done there, I think is very unheralded, and Willie Fritz is very much stating that to people here that this is not what Coach Bloomgren has been able to put together there. Is just as impressive as what's happened here. And with now the push that Rice is doing of really investing in that program, and now the jump up in league, this is now the mark, right? Like, I'm imagine Rice is going to be looking at Tulane here, win or loss this weekend, and seeing this is the program we can be now, because it's possible. Like, I think folks, JP, you can probably speak to this. Folks probably thought, bowl game, right? That's the bar, right? And that was the bar here for a long time until recent years. But now I think high academic institutions playing in a conference like the American can see what's really possible here. And Tulane's kind of broken through that glass door a little bit to kind of shine the light for a school like Rice to try and do the same. Folks here would prefer it doesn't start this weekend. And so they know it's possible, But yeah, it's for Tulane to kind of show the way of, yeah, this can be done at a school like this, in a conference like this. That's only a huge benefit to a school like Rice, who is in the same exact position.
Hey, brother, thanks so much. Appreciate the time. A cheesy gordita crunch Mexican pizza waits when you come to our palatial surroundings here. Appreciate you, man.
A little fire sauce, a little Baja Blast, and I am game day ready, Mr. Heath.
Okay, I need to get some Baja Blast. I haven't taken that plunge. I'm a mile guy. We're over here in Texas, not like you, wild. Wisconsin to New Orleans and North Carolina in between transfers. But you're the man.
Thank you, JP, Matthew. Great talking with you. This should be a heck of a game. I really think it's going to be a heck of a game Saturday.
Thanks, brother. See you soon, man.
See you guys.
See you, man. The great Corey Glore joining us. Yeah, we go back at that. Didn't speak of used to be co-workers of sorts in the old IMG days. So I dealt with Corey a lot, and he is good dude. And as we are wont to do, when we have a lot of those connections already, get those guys on. It gives a whole new depth. What do we like bringing here to the masses? But yeah, that's kind of a doctorate in Tulane. Biggest game of the year. We got some great info there.
Yeah, I'm so glad to just be able to have folks in our network and adjacent that we can come on. I mean, you and I can spitball and throw darts on a dartboard at rosters and give our best 2 cents. But yeah, it's much more interesting to me to learn something for one, and then just to hear somebody who's been there and in the weeds on the ground in the quarter. I thought he was going to bring over some good food, but no, apparently we got Taco Bell.
Yeah, he's weird like that in a good weird way. I've been a midlife Taco Bell kind of transfer. I hit the portal, and yeah, the Heaths will devour that a couple times a week. Do you want to go back into some of the greenies, or we have a little time left on our little podcast/vodcast meter? Yeah, hey, you got the reins here. What do you want to do, good man?
Well, we could either break down Taco Bell orders, or we could talk a couple big picture closing thoughts. We'll save the Taco Bell order. You be thinking, marinating on you can make your recommendation to these good folks at the end. But when you look at this game, because I thought it was really interesting how Corey kind of closed us out and talking about the similarities between Rice and Tulane. Obviously, you have the private academic ties and the challenges that we've heard at Rice with the recruiting those pieces, but big picture, what was the 2-win Tulane team that ends up going to the Cotton Bowl and the growth that they've had. You'd love to draw close comparisons to what Mike Bloomgren is building at Rice. Where are we zooming in on Bordy here?
I did get their offense earlier. I mean, Hughes and Pratt are their big guys, but yeah, I didn't want to distract you. Didn't want to dangle the keys.
I'm all for it. And I just want to kind of close big picture thoughts, because obviously if you put aspirational goals of where Rice football wants to be, I think you have to circle Tulane, right? Isn't this, now that I'm thinking through it, isn't the aspirational where Rice wants to be? You want to be this program. So is there any better way to put yourself on the map with getting to that goal than beating this program? That would be the kind of the proof positive that you've maybe not that you're there. I think this team hasn't been consistent enough to ever quite say that they've arrived quite yet. But I think we could learn a lot about this team in this game, maybe more than we could see from them playing an SMU or UTSA. They got some big hitters left on the schedule, but I guess the gravity of how interesting and impactful this particular game could be is kind of just dawning on me right now.
Yeah. And I know you are a man of intense preparation, as I say it all the time. I go to you for a lot of my great practice notes when I can't make there. And a few things on that. This already with your intense prep, I think. But the last time Rice had a ranked team just any ranked team come into historic Rice Stadium was,
I believe, 2006 is the answer.
It's Baylor. Baylor was top 25 That was post Art Briles Friday night game.
Really?
17-ish. Yeah. So it's been about 6-7 years since a ranked team has kicked off a game against our scholars from South Maine. Now, second part of my little diatribe, the last time a conference team has come in as a ranked team.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. That the 2006?
Where is
or did
it?
I just pull that number out of the blue? I'm guessing you have the answer if you're quizzing me.
Yeah, BYU was at 1997.
BYU conference game. BYU, man, we're going back.
And yes,
to the whack.
going back to the whack of the Wayback Machine of my college DJ days.
Man.
But little nugget there. The Owls have won their last 2 conference games against ranked teams. And the ranked team has been conference. You know what I'm trying to say. It's still early. It's not a regular noon start time, but last time 2 ranked teams have come in here in conference games. The Rice has scored at least 1 more point. So, yeah, that's the magnitude of how this doesn't happen all that often and how it's the new norm, like Coach Bloomgren talked about during the week. That didn't happen during Conference USA's day. You have to go all the way back. And, of course, there are many inside the Southwest Conference days and many wins in Southwest Conference days against ranked teams coming in. So, yeah, that speaks to what you said about the gravity of it.
I'd have to go back and think through it. The only ranked team that Rice played in the last 5 years in Conference USA, that would have been the Marshall game. Because I don't believe I think UAB and UTSA each had some runs where they got ranked at some points, but I don't believe that ever crossed over when the Owls played them. So,
yeah, UTSA had votes, I think, for 2 of those games. But yeah, it was. You're correct on that.
I am correct. Sometimes we're going to clip that. We can just play that little sounder at any point you want during the show. You're correct. You're correct. I'm not always correct, but sometimes I play it on TV. Anyhow, yeah, big game. Obviously, we kind of talked through with him kind of some closing thoughts on this one. Man, I think if you can get a opportunistic defense, this is kind of what I'm circling here for Rice. I think JT is going to be JT. I think the offense is going to score points. I would be surprised if this isn't a game where both sides are over, I'll call it 28. I think we're going to have a bit of a points fest scoring here. So if you can tell me that your defense can, I don't maybe absolutely have to have a carbon copy of what you got last week with +3 in takeaways, but if you can get a couple opportunistic plays, this has been a bend but don't break defense, hold people to field goals, get some stops on 4th down in the red zone. If you can do that, I have pretty full confidence the offense is going to score. And I think that's what Rice really needs. Is we talked about the battle of, the Rice offense versus the Tulane defense. I think the other side, Rice defense versus the Tulane offense. I think this might be really where the game might be decided.
Yeah, because that was a different D there up the national lights there last week. That was a totally different defense against Tulsa, especially with the start of it and how they just immediately took advantage. And they had the different kinds of drives in that Tulsa game. But I think kind of landing the plane here that the key is going to be, can Tulane get pressure on JT Daniels, part 1, and 2, I want the Owls still to run the football because I don't think we text about this specific thing, but do you know how giddy I was that the Owls got that great ground game from our guy Dino? And he goes for a career high 120. He joined us, side plug, on the Bloom Show. That should be up on the Rice Owls Insider podcast soon, if not already. And it's on the YouTube stream as well. But seeing what they did from the ground game and just getting to know John Settle a little bit, man, what a great guy, and how the running game is coming to form. And that was the best offensive line game that Sanders Davis and company has had, I think, multiple years, the way they played. And Dean, after the game, was quick to credit like Grant Banks in the offensive line. But then we had Brant on the post-game show, and he's like, man, Dean hit those holes. I'm so happy for him. So you're kind of starting to see the cohesion
that line.
No, it was you, Spider-Man meme, but Yeah, so those are two of the big things. The pressure, that how can they handle the pressure from Tulane's defense, but still trying to run the football a little, and getting some turnovers sure would negate things, because you want to keep that bad man. Tulane's got a bad man on their side of the field, Michael Pratt, and you don't want him on the field that much. And the way Hughes has been running the football for them. So, yeah, we could go on and on. But those are my 19 keys squeezed down into one thing. See how I just tried to do that. But
it could be fun. All right. Taco Bell order?
It depends. I've been a box guy lately, so I'll get maybe the one of the boxes, the Cravings boxes. But usually, you got Mexican pizza, cheesy gordita crunch. You can't really go wrong with that value. The number 7, you got the quesadilla and the taco, but the Doritos Locos tacos are not bad either. But
I love it. I have not had Taco Bell in quite some time, and maybe we're gonna have to get together with Corey pre or post game and just go hang out at Taco Bell.
Yeah, I assume he's not watching now, but he doesn't know. I'm going to bring Taco Bell for him to the game. So you're in on that too. If you want me to just text me your order, I'll do that, and still eat the pregame stuff that they give us too. So
it's a 3:00 game, so it's kind of weird. It's like late dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Get some Leonard in there.
We'll figure it out. All right. We'll be back next week breaking down, I don't know, another fast food favorite. I'm a Chick-fil-A guy, man. I'm simple. I'll tell you.
Yeah, you can't go wrong
all day. Or something else. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit of Tulane win or loss, however that goes. And then we'll preview the next game, the end of the conference schedule. I can't keep it straight. It'll be fun, man.
What's
One way
even
or another,
happening? Yeah.
We'll be back. I don't know. Army's in the AAC. Breaking news.
Yeah. How about that, right?
There you go. So I don't know if that's a non-conference game next year or a conference game, or I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But right now, Tulane, next game up, 3:00, Rice Stadium. Come get your gummy worms or whatever. We'll see you there. Nice fight.
Never dies, baby. Never dies. Chicken chalupa, also a quality item. But yeah, gummy worms.